What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 86. Hope you're having a great day as always. Glad to have you with us. This week, we're going to be getting our intercooler and radiator squared away. It's always kind of a big step with these square body diesel swaps, is squeezing an intercooler in there. And we got a prefab piece. This is Rob Bonney Fab again. Not sponsored by them by any means. We just decided that their stuff was the route we wanted to take. There's a bunch of people out there that make a bunch of different parts to do this, and they're the ones we chose. So that's what we're going to be working on this week. We got our giveaway item for the month right there, so don't forget about that, and we're going to get to work.
See instructions in there anywhere?
I hope so.
Looked in the box. I didn't really see anything else in there, but
See what all this stuff is. Some brackets, some hardware.
good.
Something in there, it's got a little weight to it.
Radiator mounts. That's it. Double check the box again. Nothing in the box.
Yeah, can't be too hard.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so.
So, I mean, basically, I think we're going to take our original core support, cut it top and bottom where this can overlap. I think these holes are all drilled for spot welds.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, I think you cut this profile out of it too, and you just stick it in there. So it may be as simple as just finding center on the original core support, cut the outside profile out, stick that in there, and weld it in.
Yeah.
So we got our core support in here. Start making some marks and lines, and maybe start cutting on it. So this is fine, but this held the radiator mount. These are going to have to get either hammered back down or grinded off so that piece can sit flat on here. And then these braces got to go all together. So it should be fun. There's a bunch of pinch welds in here. You may just have to whittle them off of there piece by piece.
Yeah, which I don't know how far does that go in there, so it won't go all the way like to this.
I don't know.
It's like I was thinking it had, all this had to get cut, like this had to get cut too. Like this whole, so in other words, like this was all gonna be gone, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I see what you're getting at. So we don't need to remove the brace. We can just cut outside of it. Cut the whole center out.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, so we can start with that. All right, so the bracing that goes in here goes well outside of these braces. So instead of cutting the braces out themselves, we're just going to cut it down right outside of it and go all the way across the bottom. All of this has to go across here, and back up here, and come right across the top. Same thing here. That'll make room for it to sit down in there where we can mark this profile. All right, here goes nothing. There we go. One good core support ruined.
So we got the first round of cutting and cleaning done here. We think we've got it pretty much slicked up enough to where we can lay that new piece, that new frame in here, and then get a good mark here for where that square tubing is going to go, so we can have a good fit there. So get it on here and see what we got.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Well,
Doesn't fit quite like I expected.
me neither.
Of course, it has to go in more, but I guess the bottom has to go in. The top doesn't need to go in.
Yeah, the top looks like it's where it needs to be.
Yeah. So, we just need to get it centered. We need to mark these lines, cut them, and let the bottom swing in. Decided here, you can see the line where the brace goes. We're going to open this up for air conditioned condenser lines. So we'll put a radius on this and this, and we'll just cut this out. And that brace is going to be laying right here. So that's where they would normally go with the factory air. So we're just going to open this up a little bit, and ours will, two lines will come right through here. Looks like she's in.
Or not.
Mostly.
Kinda. Really with this.
There we go. All right, so we got all this cut out. We got a really good fit here on these contours. So we just have some questions, mainly involving all these holes. So we got these pieces that go on here. These go right here. And they give you riv nuts to put in all these holes. So that hole is right on the edge of that radius. So you can't just, you're not just going to drill that hole. You know, this mark is actually a little smaller than the hole because we drew it from the inside, but you can see these holes are crossing over that edge. So, I'm not really sure what they're for other than that brace, because the radiator is covering these holes. So they have rib nuts in these two also, but we're not sure why. These holes, those two are for this, that one and that one, which we're probably going to weld these on. We may not even use those bolts. These two are for this. Then you got a bunch more. Well, you got 3 more here in the center that they put rib nuts in. And we're just looking at the pictures on their website. You know, we didn't get any instructions.
Yeah, they didn't send any instructions, so.
But on the pictures they have, there's rib nuts in these 3 holes also. So the only thing we can think of is a fan shroud. We don't remember how exactly that mounts, but they have all this cut out. So we'll probably cut this off. These holes, we can't really tell. I assume it's for plug welds. But we do have quite a few questions. So we're just going to try to put all this together and see if they'll answer themselves. So the intercooler, you got to cut off the original mounting ears right here. These were about that long, had rubber bushings in them. You got to cut those off. And then there's also a bracket on the top and bottom for the Dodge AC condenser. We just ground the rivets, popped them off, sanded down the rivets. There's one there and one here. So we had to take those off. And then there's these holes here where the intercooler sits down in, those rubber feet. They sit down in these holes here. So we got to drill these before we can test fit the intercooler. So that's about all we got left to do. Then we can stick the intercooler in here and see how it even sets in here. So we got a whole bag of hardware there. We're not entirely sure what it's all for. So we're hoping these questions will answer themselves, but we want to find out before we do any welding. So we don't want to take any steps backwards once we started welding. So we'll get these holes drilled, we'll get the intercooler slid in here and see what it looks like. All right, so I think we're getting our heads wrapped around how this is supposed to be. So we got a bunch of these little deals, little rubber stoppers. So apparently the intercooler is designed to just float in here. So it's got these original little rubber feet, you know, with the piece sticking down that goes in that hole. There's a hole back here on this tab, right there, where there's one of these little rubbers goes. So that keeps it from being metal to metal there. Then you'll put more of them on here, like that. And then you'll put that on here, and that's going to squish it between rubber. There'll be more of them down here. There's another one that goes down here. And then since this intercooler is the shorter one, there's one that's supposed to be 15 7/8, and the taller one is 16 3/4. So this is his solution. This is the short intercooler adapter kit. So there's a hole here in his brace, so we'd have to drill that into the core support, weld in this little bushing, and then this hood stopper will come down and butt up against the intercooler. That'll keep it from jumping out of these holes down here, and that's how it's held in. It's not really any bolts or anything, it's just squished in between a whole bunch of rubber, which I guess is fine. So we thought about building a bushing down here to raise it up, because it's hard to tell, but there is almost no room here for a bolt head. You know, your body mount bolt is right here. You can just see where it goes, and there's not even room for a head of a bolt, much less a washer. So we're gonna have to do something about that. But if we jack the intercooler up to make room for that bolt, then you no longer have the option to run a taller intercooler. Which, you know, a taller intercooler is probably a little bit better, even if it's only 1 inch of core. But, you know, if in the future somebody gets another intercooler, they get the wrong one, then it won't go in. If we leave it like this, you could run either intercooler. So I think we're going to build a bolt to go down here, leave it here where they have it set. We'll install our short intercooler adapter kit, and we're pretty sure a tall intercooler will still go in here with this. We don't have a Dodge fan shroud to test these holes against, but that almost has to be what they're for. These we still don't know what they're for, but I guess we'll put them in there anyway, just to be safe. So I guess we're gonna take all this back apart. We'll have to cut notches in the core support at every hole so we can put those nut certs in. Then we'll be ready to weld it in, I think, and make our bolts. And last thing we figured out, since there's 4 of these bushings and only 2 hood stops, we decided that the other 2 bushings weld in here for the radiator mounts. So we need to locate those, drill those, and then we can weld bushings in there too. All right, so we're gonna install one of these rib nuts just so we can kind of see what the total depth's gonna be on them, know how much we need to notch it out. So stick the rib nut in the hole,
This backup nut, smooth on one side, and it's got the like teeth on the other side. So the smooth side goes to your 1/4-20 bolt. The grooved or teeth side is going to go to the rib nut. Just thread it in until it makes contact with the rib nut, like so. Then you should hold back up on your unthreaded nut, and then tighten your 1/4-20. This may not work with this standing up like this. You want to make sure and hold that rib nut all the way in so it'll you have to get something with a little more juice than a wrench for this job. I think that would be plenty good.
Yeah, it definitely squished. I don't think it's coming out of there. All right, so we had to clearance this for those riv nuts. And since the hole is right on this radius, it was easiest to just cut this. There's 4 of them here. So we didn't put these 2 in because we don't know what they do and they didn't send us enough. But at least there's room back here. If we decide in the future we need them, we can put them in. And then on all these, same concept, just 1 bolt wide on all these. There really wasn't any eloquent way to do it. Just used a cutoff wheel and whittled away at it so it got a notch in it. So it ain't pretty, but it's just for clearance anyway. So that's how we did it. You may be able to come up with a better way. But now we got room for the rib nuts. Voila.
It's like a glove.
You see our fit here. About as good as you can ask for. Got all our rib nuts in. These 2 holes here are going to be, or what the radiator mount's supposed to bolt to. So if you put rib nuts in here, then you're really going to be short. We're just going to weld our radiator mounts on. We put these 3 in, or presumably the fan shroud. Still unsure on that one. These holes here are plug welds. You can see it in the pictures on their website. They have weld in these holes. And again, body mount and intercooler sets in there. So I think we're ready to do some welding. about that?
It ought to work.
All right. So we got her all welded out. We got our little bushings for our hood stops in. There's one of the rubber bumpers stuck in there. We decided we're going to hold off on these because it just seems like it sets the radiator up pretty high. We're a little nervous about it. So we're going to wait till we get the front end back together to put these on. Went ahead and plug welded those holes since we're not going to use bolts. We didn't have enough nut certs anyway. But those are for this brace. We'll stick that intercooler in there so y'all can see how that fits in there and sets in there. So it pretty much just sits in there. It rests on these bumpers here. Then these get their own bumpers, one on each end, and sandwich it in there. Then the hood stops. Just run these down. Till it touches. Run your jam nut back up. There's a jam nut in here. And that'll keep it from jumping out of these pockets. That's pretty much it. That's how it goes. It's not too bad. It's not, I don't know that I'd say it's ideal. But one thing to keep in mind is this is a short intercooler. It's 15 7/8. There's one that's 16 3/4, which would fill up the rest of this room. And then you don't need the hood stops to keep it from jumping out. But that's how it's designed to work, best we can tell. Only thing we're lacking is our radiator, and we'll get that next week. So we're going to put the front end back together.
Yeah, don't forget too, our bolts.
Yeah.
Since how there isn't much clearance down here, we got to do something special for the body mount bolts.
Yeah, we're going to have to do something with something thin that's not going to be rubbing the bottom of the intercooler core. So we'll do that next week too.
Yeah, a decent amount of progress.
Yeah.
It looks good in here. It would have been nice if we'd have had some instructions to kind of provide at least a little guidance on where some of this stuff was supposed to go. But I think we got it pretty well figured out. Hopefully we can get the front end back together next episode and see where we stand on our radiator cap, and hopefully our clearance is good there, and then we can go ahead and get this welded up, get everything finished up on it.
Yep.
But I think we're about out of time for this one. So we appreciate everybody watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, we'd appreciate if you'd subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to go in the comments and type subscribe. That way you're entered into our monthly giveaways. This month we're giving away the Milwaukee USB stick light. Pretty cool little light. So there'll be a link in the description if you want to check that out. That's going to do it for this one. We appreciate y'all watching. We'll catch you on the next one.